Mystery Brothers. Mystery Brothers.
Mystery Brothers.
Mystery Bros.
Mystery Brothers.
Mystery Brothers.
Mystery Bros.
All right, so shit, dude, Mystery Bros, man. This is it's been almost probably a month since we recorded an episode.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
I know we've gotten like millions of fan mail over the couple months
Yeah, I know
saying
you
like
guys
how
are
bad.
devastated, and you've been sweating with anticipation, waiting for our release, and you were like probably crying and on the verge of suicide when you saw that there was no episode in the past few weeks. But we're back. It was summertime in Michigan, man. Like,
Yeah, you don't get this every time.
Yeah, you only get like 3-4 like really good months
Yeah.
of like getting outside and doing shit. And Michigan's
Trust me,
beautiful.
once November comes, like we'll be recording every week.
yeah, we'll pick it up. Don't worry. And Michigan's fucking beautiful, man. Like we went down to Belle Isle a bunch, dude. Like Belle Isle is fucking sweet.
Yeah.
It's a cool little park. I wish they wouldn't have gotten rid of the disc golf course that they had on Belle Isle.
I
heard it
love
was a
frisbee
good one.
discing golf. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I heard it was a good course.
Right.
But yeah, so this episode is going to be a fixer, a redo. Earlier episode, I think it was like episode 6 or something, was we talked about the Malaysia flight MH370, the one that mysteriously disappeared back in 2014?
2014, yeah. It's actually one of the greatest aviation mysteries.
Yeah, and we already talked about Amelia Earhart, which is also one of the biggest. But
this one tops the cake because this is not like fucking 3,000 years ago. This was like recently.
Amelia Earhart was only like 100 years ago, wasn't it? That was
not even, but still.
Yeah.
A little more recent.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're also going to talk about the Dyatlov Pass incident, the very creepy, mysterious Dyatlov Pass incident. It's pretty crazy. We still, just like all episodes of Mystery Bros, you never know what actually happened here, but it's fun to talk about.
Right. So when we talk about MH370, I think why it's such a big mystery is because in the modern era, that just losing a plane is just unheard of.
Yeah, right. There's like all planes have so much like tracking, like
and we have radar.
Like all kinds of
Everybody
stuff.
has radar.
Right. So it's just strange, but yeah, it happened, dude. 2014.
So MH370 was supposed to take off. This is a red-eye flight. It's supposed to take off at 12:30 a.m. Land at 6:30 in Beijing. Mm-hmm. The captain and the co-pilot, not the main pilot, not the ship, whatever.
What do you mean?
So the pilot and then there's the co-pilot.
Yeah.
They both had combined over 400,000 miles of flying experience. So they knew what they were doing. They weren't like noobs. So they've had a lot of flying experience. So, they could fly anything. That's also kind of the big mystery here. A lot of the crew members, like I said, they were attending an aid conference. There were a lot of, crew, like a lot of passengers on board. Okay. Attending a big aid conference. That was a big thing. And it was, when it took off, it flew for the first hour and a half, nothing really happened. Mm-hmm. And then like at 1:30, when you're supposed to like fly from Malaysia over to Vietnam, you have to let the aircraft controls know that you're about to leave their airspace, and you're supposed to
and let the other airspace know that you're entering their airspace.
Yeah, correct. And the pilot said good night, Malaysia, and he never made contact with the airspace of Vietnam.
Okay.
Which you should definitely do. Some people definitely think there's a sinister plot twist to it because that's like a perfect spot to like do some mischief. Other thing people think
in between borders is like the good way to like kind of go unnoticed, right?
Yeah, it's because like a good spot like where they're not going to pick you up right away because you haven't heard anything.
Because the other one, Malaysia is like, okay, you're heading into Vietnam, so we're done with you, and then Vietnam thinks like, oh, you're not in our airspace fully yet, so we don't have to worry about you right now. So he's kind of right in that little middle area, sweet spot.
Yes.
But that was kind of along the route, right? Like that.
Yeah, that was
at that
along
point.
the route.
That was part of the route.
That was part of the route, and that's also
so nothing's weird about that yet. What's next? He goes out over the.
So he takes a sharp turn, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's more to say that right now, a lot of Malaysia and Vietnam think everything's fine right at this point when it actually steered off course. At 2:20, they tried to make contact with the pilot, and it was unanswered. They couldn't make contact.
Who did? Vietnam or Malaysia?
Both have tried.
Both. He wasn't responding to anything?
No, he wasn't responding. And they were talking to each other, like trying to find out where this plane was.
Okay.
It wasn't until the next morning it actually said when the plane was supposed to land, it said it was delayed.
Yeah.
But the real truth is they couldn't really find where it actually went.
Yeah. So it's, next morning, no one knows where the plane's at. It's not landed. So that's kind of when the red flags start to go up. That's when they start
putting red flags. They're sort of like trying to find tape, trying to find
and this is around what, like 8 in the morning or something? It's been a while. So
they're trying to find it. They haven't had no contact with the plane, anything. Mm-hmm. No one can spot it. So they're trying to scramble, see if any of these radar systems picked up the plane to see if they could identify, see where it went. Mm-hmm. And they also start looking in the South China Sea, which is on that, which they probably thought where it crashed. It's not until a lot later where we found out that it actually took a huge turn and went the other direction. But it's a big spot where they looked. They thought maybe it crashed in the water.
I see.
So they looked there, but it turns out it was the wrong spots. But they spent a bunch of money. And it wasn't until later they found out that it actually swerved off course.
How'd they find that out?
So it's also important to note when he said goodnight, Malaysia, the pilot, he turned his transponder off.
Mm.
Well, we don't know if he turned it off or it was a mechanical failure, but it's either that or...
The transponder stopped responding at that point,
yes,
right?
So you can't track it on radar. But the satellite can still track it, and that's how they found out.
That's how they found out where it went, because they looked back at where the
satellite pings, and it was still talking with the plane. The satellite was still talking with the plane.
Okay.
The radar just couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And it was found out later that actually the Malaysian Air Force was actually tracking the plane. Military was tracking the plane through Malaysia when it turned around, but they just didn't think anything strange of it. They just thought it was just a plane doing a routine route. They didn't check where it was actually supposed to go or where it was headed.
Because once they checked the satellite pings, they realized that he made a complete 180-degree turn, basically, right over that body of water. What is it? Is it the Indian?
Indian Ocean, correct?
No, it's a little bay or
I know, but he's going in that Indian Ocean direction.
He turns and goes in that direction. Yeah. That's when he was over the Gulf of Vietnam or what's it called? The Gulf of, I don't know, something
South
there.
China Sea, yeah.
The South China Sea, the South China Sea. He was over that, and then he made a complete 180 and headed back towards the Indian Ocean over Malaysia.
Yeah,
right?
That's why he went over Malaysia. And the satellite actually...
At this point, that's not what's supposed to happen. No, that's kind of the point when everything goes bad, is when they're over the South China Sea and he all of a sudden just does a complete 180 and turns back around. Yeah. But by that point, he turned his transponder off.
Right.
Yeah, so it's kind of it's
very shady.
It's very weird when people wonder what the fuck happened. And
we don't know if he turned this transponder off or it was a mechanical failure or something turned it off.
Yeah. And they don't know 100% for certain, but they know basically he flew back over Malaysia and then he kind of crashed somewhere in the Indian Ocean. Right?
Well, that's what they think. The last time the satellite made contact was at 8:00 in the morning. So it actually flew quite a long, far distance.
Wow.
I mean, you think about it, that's 7 hours flying the wrong way.
Yeah.
I guess if you're a passenger, I feel like you really don't know where the planes.
Yeah, no, passengers had no idea.
Yeah.
I bet, they may have noticed that he did a turn there, but
how could you? Evan, would you know where you're flying? You could tell me you're flying to fucking Miami, but I'm heading up to Nova Scotia, really. Canada, dude.
Although I think the last few times I've ridden on planes, they have a little screen on the plane that for any of the planes that you fly where they have the screens for you, you can and then there's an option on the screen where you can watch the plane from satellite view. What it's doing.
Sure there's a way you could turn that off if they
maybe, I don't know. But
that's interesting. It's an interesting note that it flew for like 7 more hours after it made contact and after it lost
turned
contact.
Around and everything. They think their best guess is that it crashed somewhere in the Indian Ocean. What time? Around like 9ish, right?
So like 8. Yeah, last time it made contact 8:30, and that's when they think somewhere happened. The thing is, a lot of military. So they asked the nations if they could like see their military radar, and that's like a lot secret. Like not a lot of nations are gonna give that up because that's like that's how you're spying on North Korea to see what they're doing.
Yeah,
with launches and everything. Mm-hmm. So they handed that over, but the U.S. wouldn't hand theirs over. Oh. So there's a little conspiracy there that the United States knew something that
I mean, that's pretty much it as far as like what happened. Because as far as like that stuff that we know, the facts, that's about it. There isn't much,
they're still looking for the plane.
Yeah, there isn't a ton of detail. They literally still have no idea where the plane crashed or where it is. Any debris? No debris has been found.
There's been debris found.
A few pieces of debris that they think are from it, right?
Yes, correct.
Has anything ever been proven?
No, they just know that the maker, like they found some pieces from the same maker and the same company, same symbols, but they can't have a flight number. So it's like a good chance that it's from Malaysia, but there's no way to confirm it.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, so there are a lot of different theories about what may have happened, because obviously people are wondering. There was how many people were on the plane?
Passenger number was 227 passengers, so that's a lot of passengers.
So that's a lot of people that are just gone now, and no one knows what happened to them.
And 12 crew members.
They have families and stuff.
239 are presumed dead.
Yeah, so that's a tragedy. That's a lot of people missing, and people want to know why. So there have been a lot of theories. I watched. Like for some reason, there's Australia is pretty interested in this. Like I've seen almost all the stuff that I've watched about it, like the documentaries and like things looking into what may have happened are coming out of Australia. And there was only like 2 or 3 Australian people on the flight, right?
Yeah,
as far as I know, yeah. But that the one family, that such a sad story. The mom who has the what I'm talking about. That one mom her husband was on the flight. Oh, I heard. And she has like kids and stuff. And it sucks. And she's been, trying to figure out what happened for so long, but you're just not going to know. I'm sorry. Like it's a plane and some shit went wrong, but so there are theories. There are theories that there was just like a malfunction, right? And the plane went down, like some sort of malfunction.
So there's like a theory that there was like a huge fire on board, like electrical fire. And that's why like the pilot wouldn't like radio, like control. Like I'm like, you can't help me down here. Like this fire's up here.
So
like
there's a theory there was some sort of fire or something on the plane and that caused them to go down.
Yeah. And that's why they couldn't react or anything.
I get that, but why did they fly for 7 hours in an opposite direction?
Could have burned everybody and the plane just kept flying.
No, it wouldn't have done a 180 then. You're saying that he did that like
he did that and he was like, whoa, like a fire came. Like,
I think
I gotta turn back. He was probably turning back to the airport. Maybe that was his goal. That's what lots of people think, that he was turning back.
Dude, I don't know. So they think that he made that 180 maneuver while he had control of the plane, but there was some sort of thing going on, and then something happened. They all died, and then they just flew in that direction for 7 hours.
So what they think is like there was a fire on board. He turned around and he tried to go back to Malaysia and land, and he just like kept flying.
I guess that makes sense in theory. I don't know though.
Another theory is they all suffocated to death. Like there was like a hypoxia, like the the oxygen levels went low.
That can happen if it gets depressurized, right? If an airplane is like depressurized.
The only thing that like kind of blocks that theory is like autopilot would not have made that like sharp turn,
that big turn, right?
Yeah,
that's the wrench in the cog. That's the one thing that like people can't figure out and doesn't make any sense. Is they did like a full 180 turn
from their flight path. They went completely the other direction.
Yeah, for like
7
before
hours.
halfway. Before halfway in the trip, even, right? Like 3 hours.
They were only an hour in.
Yeah, they were only an hour in before they did this. Huh.
So strange. There's another theory is it was terrorists. There were 2 fake passports found by passengers.
Right. There's 2 Europeans that had fake passports that were on the plane, right?
But it turns out they were seeking asylum. So I feel like
so it's. I guess it's possible, but
no terrorist members ever come out and claim they took down
that's usually
organizations would claim it.
Yeah, that's usually what their MO. They want to get known. There's usually some sort of agenda.
Yeah. Because otherwise, what's the reason of taking down MH370?
Yeah. They usually have some sort of agenda that's where, political or whatever. So they want people to know that this is who did it and why.
Right.
And none of that was ever claimed or anything like that from any terrorists.
So that's a huge kind of thing. Or a lot of people thought maybe it grounded on an island somewhere and they're all still alive prisoners. But I feel like it's been 6 years now. We would have known if they were alive somewhere.
Yeah.
Land on an island somewhere. That was a big theory going around when it was first happening. Oh, dude, they were landed on an island. They were doing this terrorist group made them land somewhere.
Yeah.
I bet you the families deep down wish that's the case.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. It would have, I don't know. I just don't think that that's true. I think it crashed in the ocean, but why is the mystery, Yeah. Now, there have been some theories about the pilot, right? And there's, it's interesting because obviously, like we said, the plane did a full 180 in the opposite direction it was supposed to be going an hour into the flight. And it flew 7 hours in the opposite direction as far as, and maybe even more as far as we know. We don't know exactly when it went down, but why did that happen? People are saying that logically, the pilot had to do that, had to be involved with that.
Yeah.
So, people have looked into him too, right? And for the most part, there's not really much to it, right?
Right. There's no much.
He was a happy dude. He was married, right?
Yeah. So why would he commit suicide? That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, some people, and not only commit suicide, but literally kill
everybody on board. Yeah. You're bringing everybody down. You're not just bringing yourself down.
Yeah. Not only are you committing suicide, but you're also killing another 230 people, in the process. And it just, people say he was happy and everything, right?
Yeah. To me, I feel like it's a big possibility because you turned it off, right? There's a big chance that he turned off the transponder. I feel like it was not an electrical thing. I feel like he turned it off.
Yeah, it's not it has to be turned off at some point. It could have malfunctioned, but most likely it was turned off. So that's another strike in that direction is why did he do that? Why did
Mm-hmm.
And he never said any. All his friends say that he was a happy dude. Yeah, his name was Zahiri Ahmed Shah. And yeah, I mean, he was 53 years old. This says he was widely believed to have been depressed.
Oh,
I haven't read that though, to be honest.
Well, that's another wrenching story.
From what I've read, according to his friends and family, he was a pretty happy dude.
Yeah, that's what I heard too.
Although, yeah, I mean, like we said, people are still trying to look into this, and I guess that people are still doing research into the pilot's background and stuff. And I have seen some articles and some things talking about how they think he was more involved. They think that he was depressed. They think, he had motive. But all the people that were interviewed within the first few years, I feel that knew him, that kind of stuff, were saying no,
you can hide it. You can.
Yeah, you can. You definitely can. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I feel I saw an interview where they interviewed his best friend, and his best friend who was had seen him the day before, and he was just everything seemed totally normal. He was happy, all that. So I mean, it's strange, but people can hide things. People can stuff it down. They did say he was politically active, and I don't know if he was super happy with the political
Regime's
climate that was going on in Malaysia. I don't think he was, but I don't think that like we said, all his friends, everything, just don't think he was suicidal. And not only suicidal, but murderous. Like we said, he had to, not only was he going to kill himself, he was killing 230 other people. So a lot of people just don't say it can happen. I feel like you can never say never with that kind of stuff. Like we said, people can hide things, people can stuff it down, but it just, if his best friends, all his friends, we were just saying there's nothing to it, there's no reason why he would do that, then it's tough to believe, you know?
Interesting enough, too, like some of the wreckage that they found, they think that the pilot crashed, like the way the wreckage, like the way it was bent and stuff, they feel like the pilot crashed that plane, made it so like no one can ever find that plane, crashed in such a level that,
yeah, there is like some sort of like anecdotal evidence that people think leads to that, like they said, like, and I watched a thing where they had like this like super experienced pilot like fly that route and like show what was happening, like, and he said he pulled out of it like so easily. Like he's like, this plane was going down over the, like all you'd have to do is like do a quick little, 1-2 maneuver and you're fine and everything's good. And so, like that makes it seem like it was crashed on purpose.
Right.
And like you said, like they think that the way he crashed also had something, like it was a certain way so that like it would destroy the material or something.
It was a certain way that like the material wouldn't like just explode, like it would just perfectly, like not just like make a huge kaboom, like the way it would like dive into the water, like it'd be at such an angle where it would just like go straight down. You would see barely any wreckage, so no one could ever see his atrocity, his crime.
Okay. Like it would make the plane kind of just go straight into a dive.
Go straight dive into the ocean. No one would ever find it. It would just dive all the way down.
Yeah, and one thing that I found that was a little bit alarming was they looked into he had like a personal like flight simulator like in his apartment because he was a pilot, and he was just like, he would always like plot like his most, his flights for like the next day or blah, blah on his simulator. And they did notice that there was a flight path that looked exactly like the one that they know of that happened on his flight simulator that he did like a week or two before. Which is a little interesting.
That is.
They did say that like he had like hundreds and thousands of different like plots that he plotted on there, right. And there was plenty of plots on there that he did that he never ended up doing. Right. So, but that's strange.
That is a little strange, But it could just be like he was just mapping out just to like a little flight place.
Hold on, let me look at this here. Okay, so this one, the headline of this says he was lost and disturbed. Daughter of MH370 pilot raised alarming questions about his state of mind weeks before the plane's disappearance. Oh. So this is kind of interesting. But how old was she at the time? Let me see. Captain Zahari was in emotional turmoil over the impending breakup of his marriage, his family say.
Oh.
Ooh.
That's a strong little thing.
That's a little...
But I wouldn't want to take the whole plane down with me. I wouldn't be like, fuck this, fuck everyone. We're going down.
It says the 53-year-old's wife and daughter say he was distracted and withdrawn in the weeks before the Malaysian Airlines. But they didn't say he was like suicidal.
And they did an investigation into him early on, about like him being suicidal, and I remember them concluding that it couldn't have been a suicide. Like I remember like the official case saying it wasn't.
And I feel like they're pushing this a little bit. Like I think that they almost kind of want it to be that so that they can
have an answer.
They want an answer because it just says although no suicide note was found, nor any motivation has been established. Police are continuing their inquiries into the pilot and his state of mind. Yeah, it's like at this point, what else are you going to learn? Like,
yeah.
So, there's theories both ways, Are there any super wacky theories?
Well, let me get into some of the weird stuff about the radar when the military turned it over.
Oh,
so
okay.
some of the military radar from other countries, if there's like an explosion or a crash, usually it will be picked up on the radar because it's like such an event. Like satellites around the world should pick that up. The strange thing is that there was none of the radar ever appeared that there was anything out of the ordinary. So like that's a huge thing. If it like exploded like it should have, like if it just like did a pancake in the ocean, like millions of pieces went the other way, or like crashed into the woods somewhere, that it would have been picked up by military radar, and it wasn't. So that's another creepy thing, I guess.
Okay. Well, he could have, like we said earlier, he could have kind of like dove into the ocean,
right?
right?
That's what had to. No explosion. There's no explosion, so it couldn't have exploded. That's what they're basically saying.
Okay.
There couldn't have been like the engine just like blew up in fire, and that didn't happen.
Okay. No satellites picked anything like that up, huh?
Yeah, so that couldn't happen. And the U.S. didn't turn it over, but a lot of people just think that the U.S. had like too much secrets, like they didn't want like to know what they were really spying. So that's kind of the reason. And they said that they couldn't, like they looked themselves and said they couldn't find, but they wouldn't make it public.
I see. Yeah, that makes sense.
So there's like some people think like the U.S. was involved.
No.
They like took the plane somewhere. It was supposed to fly where it didn't.
I don't know about that. I don't know if
there's also one that's just like an unlucky meteor strike.
Yeah,
that it just like
all kinds of theories have come up about this, right? Just because of like it's so important and so big, and so many people are trying to figure out what happened. It's just I mean,
but I think also the big thing is where the last ping was picked up at 8:30. Like they did a huge like radius around the search, like where that last ping is. Like they thought like in this like 300-mile radius they would find the plane. Was not found in that 300-mile radius. I don't know how deep their equipment goes or anything, but it was not found in that radius. So I guess like the first search was done like right after the initial analysis. It crashed in the South China Sea, so that's where they looked. And then they found the satellite region, so they went into the Indian Ocean and looked. They covered between 18th of March and 28th of April. There was 19 vessels, 345 different sorts of military aircraft searches. They covered over 4,600,000 kilometers.
Wow.
Which is around 1,800,000 square miles. The final phase of the search was a bathymetric survey and a sonar search of the floor, and that was about they did a huge deep sonar scan, and it was about they covered around 970 miles of ocean floor, and have not found the plane. The final now they're doing some deep sea searches today, but now these are independent companies doing these searches.
Okay, so the governments are kind of done with it, right?
Yeah, so like but they searched for a while. Like on January in 2017, they still like were doing huge operations. But the thing is, it was costing so much money, and they were like yielding no evidence. Like some debris off the coast of South Africa was found, but other than that, they just have found nothing. And they spent like a whole bunch of money. A whole bunch of countries joined in. On the search.
That's crazy. And the one thing I watched was that was part of like the Australian thing was like that mom went over to the Malaysia, went over to the prime minister and like asked him to like continue looking and stuff. But this was like 2017 or 2018. And it's like, what more can they do?
Yeah.
What do you mean keep looking? Like it's been 4 years at this point. Like it's gone. Like we would have found it by now. You know,
it's just crazy.
And I felt bad, like, because you know it's a shitty. Like your husband's dead. Like the father of your children is gone, and it sucks. But like, what can they do? You know, and you could tell like the Malaysian prime minister was like, yeah. We'll keep searching. Don't worry. Yeah, but like he knew in his head like we're not finding anything. Sorry.
I mean, now they're doing like huge deep sea search floors, like underwater. It's private companies. They're sending robots down there now and stuff. Still
using
can't
like
find
sonar and stuff to try and like
they're doing some deep. They're going to like the deep crevices and trying to find this plane.
Wow.
They're not They're covering every point of
Yeah.
So since they can't find it and they covered a lot of seafloor, some people think it's aliens. It kind of just like beamed the ship up.
Interesting.
Beamed the plane out.
That doesn't explain why he made that maneuver, though, right? You know,
no.
Do you think it was in the alien spaceship at that time?
What could have happened?
Got picked up over the South China Sea.
Could have happened. Maybe he was trying to avoid something flying, so he like did a turn right the other direction
and goes 7 hours in the other direction.
But it was still following him, and then finally, like the aliens were like, "All right, we're faster than you. Let's just get this shit over with and like thank you."
Yeah, most likely that's what happened. Yeah. I mean, you know, there's all kinds of theories because it's a mystery. You know, no one knows. What do you think? Final thoughts. What do you think happened?
I think it's just a little too suspicious that he, like, the radio contact was left right before you were going to do borders. He did that turn right there, and to me, I think it was more planned than just a freak of nature.
You think it was a murder-suicide plot? I guess I have to agree. I think that's probably it. Like,
I just don't know why you'd make that
especially
turn.
after reading that article about how, like, they say that his marriage was like about, you know, not doing well. He, you know, that's a shitty thing for a guy.
Yeah.
You know,
and you're 53, like, not much.
Yeah. I think that was it. Unfortunately. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, you know, as always, it's a fucking mystery.
No.
We'll never know. We'll never know what happened.
That's the thing. Like, people want to find that black box because, like, the black boxes would tell you exactly, and they can survive, like, a whole bunch of conditions. And
but
if you ever found the plane, found those, I feel like if we found the plane, like, 20 years from now, that black box would still work. We'd find out what happened.
Yeah. If it's still intact and everything, I mean, who knows?
Who knows? If it's still on this planet. Just kidding.
20 years of, like, plane parts on, like, the bottom of the ocean and stuff like that can cause, you know, there's so much pressure and all that. It could.
Depends how deep it went. Depends where it went.
Yeah, you never know.
Right.
But yeah, so that's MH370.
Yeah.
As always, it's a mystery. We'll never know. But it is interesting. It makes you think. And it's a little more recent, which I think is cool to talk about stuff that is a little more recent. Most of the stuff we talk about is, you know, older, happened a long time ago. Kind of like the next thing we're going to talk about, which is Dyatlovs Pass.
Ooh,
yes, the Dyatlovs Pass incident, which is a super interesting story, dude. It happened over in Russia. This one was a little while ago. It was 1959. Is when it actually happened. It was in kind of like the north, like western part of the Soviet Union. At the time, it was the Soviet Union. Now today, it's Russia. And it's a super interesting story. So there was 9 people total.
Yeah.
10 people involved. 9 people that ended up dying, but 10 people involved. 8 men, 2 women. They were all very experienced hikers. Yeah, that's kind of what they do. That was the point of this. They went on an expedition, hiking up in the mountains.
This is by no means like a fun expedition. I feel like.
No, I don't think it. I mean, to them, I think it was. To them, I think it was.
For me, it would not be fun. For me, it'd be like death sentence, dude.
Yeah, because this was in February, right? It was in February.
In Siberia,
Siberia. Okay. So it was cold. And you're up in the mountains, like, you know, it
makes Michigan feel like just like nothing, dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Russia and like Canada and like places that are way up north, like it's cold up there. Finland, you know, like all northern, like Norway and Sweden and shit, like it's cold up there.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so this expedition was to gain their grade 3 hiker certificate, which at the time in Russia, the grade 3 hiker certificate is the highest grade you could have earned. So these guys were experienced. They knew what they were doing. They basically like purposefully took a really like treacherous route. Not quite treacherous, but just the toughest route that they could have taken.
So they get it.
So that you know, that was the point. Like, show that you're experienced hikers. You can
show them you're
stuff.
a man of Russia, man. Show them that you can conquer it.
Yeah, basically.
So I'm sorry if I like botched some of these names, but the people that attended the trip is obviously Igor.
Obviously Igor, right? Obviously Igor.
Alexikovich Dyatlov, which they named it after the pass. Dyatlov Pass after the leader. There's Yuri Nikolaevich Doroshenko. There's Vladimir Dubinia. There's Gregory Koroshenko. I think that's Yuri's like brother.
Yeah.
There's Alexander Kolavatov. There's Zinaidid Kulmagorova. There's Rustim Slobodin. And there's Nikolai Tibiok Sprignolius. Semen Alexevich Zarotrov. And Yuri Yudin. That's the simplest one, dude. Thank you, Yuri.
Thank you, Yuri.
You saved me there.
So they're all very Russian, as you can tell.
They were all like 21, 22, 23, 24, and then like there's one guy that's 38.
Yeah, wasn't that the leader?
No, that's Samyon.
Oh, okay. And yeah, so it started off with 10 people in their group, but then they like took a truck out to like this like really super remote village that was kind of near there, and then they started from there. And when they got to that village, one of the guys, wasn't it? I think it was Yuri Yudin. Yeah, Yuri Yudin. Since he had the easiest name to pronounce, basically, he wasn't feeling good when they got to that spot. And so basically they were like, all right, well, if you're not feeling good, you shouldn't be doing this hike. Like, this is a serious hike. So he stayed behind and didn't go with them. So that's why 9 people were killed. But there was 10 people in the group there. So Yuri Yudin, survived, that's gotta be weird.
Yeah. He lived until 75, man. Yeah. He died in 2013, like not that long ago.
It's gotta be weird as the only survivor of that, dude. Like all your friends,
and you have no idea.
And then you just happen to get sick and don't go. And then
do you think he had like survivor's guilt? Like, why was I?
Some people do. Yeah, I bet you he had a little bit or something like that.
I don't know. Dude, I would be fucking happy. Like, Lord, thank you, dude.
Happy, yeah, but just now all your like best friends. I'm sure they've been training for hiking together for like so long, and they're all just dead now. Anyway, the area was called Dead Mountains,
which gives you a little taste of what's up to come.
A little eerie, but it had more to do with the fact that there was just like no like vegetation or like really any animals or anything there, because it was just so goddamn cold.
Yeah,
that's basically like it was so just like shitty and cold that like nothing lived there, not even like plants really. Like they had some trees, obviously like pine trees and stuff. In
February, it must be like negative like every single day, dude.
Of course, yeah, dude. It's like, it's terrible. But the official name I think is called the Ural Mountains. And yeah, it's known for having like almost no wildlife. That's kind of why it was called Dead Mountains. But they also had like a few cameras on this trip with them, so we do have some pictures that were recovered. We'll talk about later. But yeah, so it did happen, like we said, it happened in February, and this was back in the 50s. So they basically like the leader, Dyatlov, he told his buddy like, if you don't hear from me by like, I think it was February 25th.
February 12th.
Oh, whoops. Yeah, he was like, if you don't hear from me by like February 12th, then like, alert somebody like that. Yeah. This was back in the 50s. They didn't have cell phone. They didn't have any of that shit. So, he was basically like, if I'm not back by the 12th, be worried.
Yeah.
So, and then they just kind of, they set off. Like they spent like a day in that one town, and then they set off after that. And after that, everything else is a mystery except for what they found. So, in the area, I think they were probably, it said they were probably like 3 or 4 days into the trip at that point, right? And they were way up in the mountains, way up in the Dead Mountains. They had their tent set up, and so what they found was,
how much vodka you think they brought along on the trip, dude?
They did bring some.
I feel like you have to bring, dude. That's like,
oh yeah,
At night, dude, like I'm just getting drunk as a skunk, dude. Because like,
but then you're not sleeping good. You gotta get drunk during the day while you're hiking.
Dude, but like I feel like I'm too cold just to like fucking open up a bottle right now.
Yeah, dude, it'd be terrible. God. But yeah, so like we said, he didn't hear from the leader Dyatlov by the 12th. His friend didn't. So they basically like decided something's up here, and he alerted some people, and they sent some people into, the area where they think that they might be. Basically, they knew the route that they were taking, so they basically just kind of like had another group like go, to hike that route to figure out what happened and where they were. So they found the tent, and the tent was slashed open from the inside.
Strange.
Which is strange. One, first strange thing there. The tent was found slashed open from the inside. Nobody was found around it. Yuri Yurik, he was found in his underwear, frozen next to a tree that had like scratches on it. So they believe that he tried to climb the tree or something like that, Two of the other people, they were frozen. They were wearing jackets, but they weren't wearing boots. Okay. So like I said, the one guy had no underwear, then the one person no boots, or only found in his underwear. Like that makes people think they left the tent in a hurry.
You had to be like at night at -45.
Yeah.
Like
it was the middle of the night.
It has to be like -45. Like it's fucking freezing.
Right.
How long you couldn't live longer than 5 minutes, I feel like, outside.
Not without a jacket and shit. No. Yeah. Not at all. So that's another red flag that people are like, why the fuck is that? Like some people were found like
apparently, and these woods were like a little bit far away from where the actual camp was.
It was at least like 300 feet.
No, it was further than that. It was like
where they found them.
Like the woods.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, it was far.
Yep. So then there were two others that were frozen. Oh, I already said that. Then, 4 others of them were found at like kind of the bottom of this like ravine or kind of like a hill area. They all had like fractured skulls, and some of them had broken ribs. A lot of them, they'd all suffered like massive like internal bleeding.
Right.
That was like the way they died. Two of those 4 were found with no eyes. The woman, she was also found with a missing tongue. And it looked like it had been sliced, they say. Super weird.
That is strange.
Basically, the first, and yeah, like I said, the first 2 people that they found, like, that didn't have like jackets and all that stuff, it looked like where they were found, they tried to make some sort of fire, which is weird.
I feel like they were trying to make a fire to stay warm. Like
no shit, but why wouldn't you go back to the tent or something?
Because maybe they were afraid to go back there. Maybe they're like, I have to make a fire.
Yeah,
but then you're aft because you can never leave the fire. You're just gonna have to like keep it running forever.
Yeah, basically, like after they found all this, like the detectives and all the people were just like, so baffled. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, people were found that massive internal bleeding, like fractures, bone fractures, and then some other people were just found like with no eyes, no tongue, weird shit. And basically, the official cause of death was an unknown compelling force.
Right.
And that's what's actually written on the death certificate. So whatever that means.
They said that I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people were officially cause of death with hyperthermia. Leukemia was internal bleeding and severe chest Nikilia got the fatal skull injury, and Simeon severe chest trauma.
Yeah.
But all these people had like other internal things, but they think those were the main causes of death.
Yeah.
It's just strange that they weren't all hypothermia.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's about as much that they know about what happened. That's about all the facts there. Now, there are a lot of theories, and I have a theory. I have an interesting theory about what it could be. So we'll get into that. But the very last thing that is a little strange is that 3 articles of clothing that some of the people were wearing there, like some of the jackets that they found, and then like a pair of pants too, between the people were highly radioactive.
Right.
Which is strange. It's not a great thing to be wearing radioactive clothes. So yeah, that's another interesting thing there. Again, it was, no one really knew what that meant at the time, but so there are some theories. I'm gonna go over some theories here about what people think may have happened. And the first one, I'm gonna say this one first because I don't really believe it. I think it's just kind of like, I guess it's possible, but there's a tribe up there called the Mansi tribe.
I heard this. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're basically some people say that the people in the Mansi tribe may have killed them.
Just for something, yeah.
Which would
chase them out.
Which could explain why some of them had like
weird chest
injuries. like force, like trauma, blunt force trauma, basically, like in their head and all that kind of stuff. And
they could have chased them out and stuff. I could see that.
The Mansi tribe is not known for that kind of thing at all. I don't think they've ever attacked any group of people. They also they're just not aggressive. And that mountain wasn't like anything special to them, or like they weren't in any sacred grounds or anything like that. So it's like, why would they? And they talked to some Mansi tribe people, and they were just like, no, we didn't kill anybody. But that is still a theory for some reason. They could have done it and just not wanted to admit it. I guess I don't know. I don't think that's very likely. That's just a quick theory that we'll go over. Another theory that a lot of people have said is that it could be some sort of animal,
Oh, the Yeti?
Nah.
It could have been the Yeti? They made a documentary about that.
The Yeti falls into that category, that it was some sort of animal, but like a lot of people say it was like bears type of thing. Bears or wolves or anything like that, but that's also kind of...
Why would there been... I feel like there would be more eaten. Like, why would there be more eaten? I feel like there should have been bite marks. There should have been, like, marks.
Exactly. There was no, like, scratch marks, anything like that. But maybe people think that's why...
It had to be the Yeti. Some intelligent, like, form, so, like, it would just make it...
People think that's why, like, they, like, cut the tent... Like, there was a bear that was trying to attack them or something, and then they ran away, and then they died because they ran away from their tent.
I guess like a huge bear or a huge Yeti could have been there.
I guess, yeah. I mean, the Yeti thing, that's a serious theory. People say that there's a Yeti that lives up in that like mountainous region. Yeti is basically like a huge, like giant, like ape person, pretty much, right? They say that they found like footprints and stuff in that area, like big, like weird, huge bipedal, like ape-like footprints. But like, where would that be coming from? Blah blah. But
I feel like
no one's ever gotten a picture or anything.
I feel like if there was a Yeti, we would have had like huge ass footprints. Like, whoa, where do these footprints come from? Why are they?
Yeah, there would be some sort of like, I think there would be more evidence of it. Yeah. If there was a Yeti in this situation.
And I feel like the Yeti would just like tear these people apart too.
Yeah, they would just fuck them up.
They made like a huge like National Geographic like show on like the Yeti.
Yeah, I know. It's a legit theory there. But then also people say like animals, like I was saying, bears and foxes and stuff. But again, there really aren't any known predators in the area, because like I said, it was called Dead Mountain because there's just no vegetation.
And the bear would be hibernating right now. Like
at the time in February.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Bear would be hibernating in February. So
it's too cold.
And yeah, like wolves wouldn't like be able to cause that much trauma. I don't think
And are they like out at that cold weather in the middle of the night?
That's the thing. Yeah, most people don't think that there's even really many animals there. There was no footprints found or anything like that. So that's why I think that it's tough. The Yeti is interesting. It's interesting, but as far as animals go, I don't think that's possible. I don't think it was like bears or anything.
Could you imagine the only Yeti crime that we know of?
What if they found like a huge footprint or something? Then
that would have been interesting. That would have been interesting.
But, yeah, I just don't see much to that. It's cool to think about though. Another one that some people think may have happened is they may have think there was an avalanche. Yes,
that's actually like a credible theory. But didn't they say like on the hill slope, it wasn't that steep of an angle hill. Like I think they've tested that actually at that, like it couldn't have really been an avalanche unless it was like from farther up, because they said the angle wasn't that steep.
It's possible because it's just in the mountains and there's lots of snow up there. But there was really no evidence to suggest that there was an avalanche. Like there were still footprints and stuff in the snow, and usually like if there was an avalanche they were running from, that would have been covered up, and yeah, there just really wasn't any evidence to that. But they got to put that in there because it's possible it could definitely happen up there. Right. Avalanches, but
I mean, it would definitely make sense of why they would leave in a hurry. Like you leave the tent. Like,
that explains why they like tore their tent open from the inside out and all just left without getting their boots and shit. Like without even putting their boots or jackets or pants on some of them. So that's.
But I feel like it's just like a double screwed. Like you're screwed. You leave the tent. You're screwed inside the tent. Like you're gonna die either way. Like you're just prolonging your death being outside. I mean,
maybe you could run it. You could outrun it, right? Or you could like. Not outrun it, but you could get out of the way. Maybe
it's minus 45 degrees out. How are you gonna? How long are you gonna survive without an underwear? Like how long are you gonna?
You definitely gotta grab your jacket, your pants, and shit.
Like if you don't, you're screwed, right?
Yeah, you're fucked. Yeah, of course. That's how 4 of them died. Right?
Yeah,
hypothermia.
You can't just have a fire going for like the next 5 days, like just constantly, like.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, that is a theory.
So there's another theory that they may have caught their tent on fire, like they're cooking something inside the tent, and that's why they left the tent, because there's so much smoke and everything.
Because the tent was on fire and they had to get out.
Like from inside, they're cooking inside and like caught on fire and they had to like get out. But I think the thing that kind of damages that theory that they found like all their cooking stuff like stored away.
Interesting. Oh yeah, they did say that they did have pictures of them where it showed that they had some burn marks on their jackets here and there. Like in the days leading up, like these were happy pictures. Like while they were just taking a document, and they noticed that like there was some small burn marks in some of their jackets. So they think that may have been a thing where like sometimes when they're cooking, the fire gets a little out of control and they burn their jacket or burn something like that. So
maybe they just like had a huge But I feel like they would have found more evidence, like the tent, like that it was burnt.
The tent wasn't burnt, was it? The tent wasn't burnt.
I feel like they would have said something in the description of the tent. It was burnt.
Yeah, that's weird that there's none of that. And then that doesn't really like explain how these people got like crazy blunt force trauma and stuff. Like some people say like they fell down like it was pitch black and they fell, but I don't know, fractured skull, broken ribs, like all that kind of shit.
Right.
And I mean, people have said that is kind of consistent with like falling, but they were found like towards the bottom of like a hill area. But it just didn't seem like it was that treacherous. But it totally could have been. They could have fallen.
Right.
And but that still doesn't explain why they ripped the tent open and all ran out, like completely unprepared.
I feel like these are like experienced hikers. They should know like you're gonna die outside if you don't put stuff on.
Yeah, exactly. Like they had to be in fear of their life or something. But that kind of leads us to our next thing. Now, this one is. I think that there's definitely could be some credibility to not really credibility, but there could like this one I think is possible, and it kind of like is juicy too. So supposedly there are some secret Soviet testing or military testing zones that are like not too far off from where they were. Like, within, 20, 30 miles, I think, like 25, 50 miles. They have been known that the military has been known to test things there before. The Soviet Union, when they were testing like bombs, all that kind of stuff, they've been known to do that in that area. It's kind of like their Nevada, their middle of the desert is just up in the shitty mountains areas of Siberia. But yeah, so basically, like a lot of people think they may have been testing some sort of like secret military like bomb or something like that, and that like freaked them out enough to make them run, like tear the tent open and run.
That's an
like
interesting
there could have
theory.
been some sort of like military testing that was going on.
I heard another theory close to that was like a chemical, like they're spraying some chemical thing into the air and they just got hallucinating crazy and just ran out of the tent.
Interesting. Something that was coming from the Soviet military testing zone.
Yeah, they said like they were just like experimenting with like some chemical weapons.
But there's no evidence or anything of that.
No, there's no, but that's a theory.
They've been known to be testing like bombs in that area.
They found like some shells and missiles of stuff found near the place where they were.
Yeah. Those also could have been old.
Yeah.
But basically, another theory along those lines is they may have accidentally stumbled upon something they shouldn't have seen.
Right.
They may have accidentally seen some like secret military operation going on or some secret bomb and like, and they think that they kind of jumped in on, that also, they think that also could have something to do with why there was some of the people had radioactive clothing. And they think that they may have stumbled upon something they shouldn't have seen and were just kind of spooked by the Soviet government. Like maybe they sent some soldiers after them, or they sent some people to like maybe kill them, maybe scare them. I don't know, but it scared them enough to jump out of their tent and run.
That's another. Yes, I heard that.
There are some interesting things around the investigation that have to do with that. Like,
I want to say that there was two people found. I think Gregory and Ludina, his girlfriend, him and her. They were actually found like crawling in the snow. Originally, they thought they were like trying to get back to the tent, but that's actually not the case. They're trying to go somewhere else.
They were in a different direction.
They're going in a different direction. So that kind of tells us like, well, it's freezing cold out. Why aren't you trying to go to tent? Like, where are you trying to go?
Yeah. Yeah. That also kind of,
that points to the theory that maybe something was there, or maybe somebody was like pointing at them or something.
Yeah. They might have been trying to hide from fucking Russian military dudes because the Soviet authorities, they thought it was a little strange. People say that they think they took an interest in this situation, like more than they normally would for like random stuff like that. They sent officials to monitor the investigation the entire time. They literally shut down the entire area for like a long, long time. After that happened, they shut down the whole area, wouldn't let anybody in there. The Soviet army, they closed the area for 3 years after the incident.
Right.
Pretty long time to have that whole area, like for an investigation,
And they hurried out hurriedly with the investigation, like
tried to rush quick with it. They just quickly were just like, it was an accident.
Yeah.
Or basically like their words, it was an unknown compelling force.
Right.
Whatever that means. So, they didn't really investigate too hard. They didn't blah, blah, blah. Another thing that kind of adds a little bit to that, remember Yuri Yudin, the guy who survived? Well, they had him go look at the area. He basically went to the site where they were all found and kind of looked just to see if there's anything strange about it, anything may have been happening. And he claimed there was a piece of cloth that he did not recognize that he thought was kind of like was military in origin.
Right.
Meaning some sort of military cloth that he said that is out of ordinary. And I mean, he camped with these guys, he hiked with these guys. So I think he knew like pretty well.
They were just like small pieces, though, right? They found here and there.
Yeah, they could have got it at like at the little village they were at beforehand. You know, but that's just interesting.
They also, I heard another interesting theory is that how the tent was like found. Like they said, these guys were experienced. They wouldn't have set up a tent this way. How it was like set up was like strange. Like
really,
they plant some people think like how it was set up was like they wouldn't have set up a tent that way, or was like planted there by the military. Like I heard that theory too. Like some people think they just threw the bodies there and planted the tent. So they made the crime team look like, oh, look at this crazy accident that like was
when really.
Yeah, and when really something like they actually died somewhere else, and
and I've heard that too. They apparently Yuri also found a pair of glasses that he said didn't belong to anybody there. Interesting, but you know, could be a lot of things. But yeah, so yeah, I mean the secret Soviet military theory I think is kind of juicy, and it's totally possible. Like there is a base in that area. They know they've been testing stuff in that area. So like,
but I think
it's
it
interesting. That's one I think I might be leaning more towards that one.
I think kind of kills it though. There's no footprints of you have
footprints.
You have the footprints of the people like actually going down the valley. That's how they found out. They found the tent so they could follow the footprints down the valley. But I guess you could cover those footprints up. But like
you could.
I don't know. That's like I feel like there has to be some more evidence. Like more people were there.
And the whole part about how like maybe they were killed somewhere else and taken there, then like the footprints, that would be a lot of covering up you'd have to do. You'd have to make footprints all the way. Like you'd have to make it seem like that's kind of interesting.
You'd have to like walk them real quick.
Yeah, like using their foot, like stabbing dude. That's some intense like cover up shit you're doing there, man. They must have found something crazy if that was the case. But yeah, I just think that maybe they saw something they shouldn't have, and the military like came to like scare them. Or
like made them leave the tent. Like that's the easy way to do it. Like scare them, make them leave the tent.
Or even they heard like they had some crazy bomb that they were testing, and some bomb went off like 10 miles away from where they are, and it was just like scared the shit out of them. They didn't know what the fuck was happening. Well, yeah. So and then the last theory, one of our favorites, obviously, is the aliens theory.
Although it's kind of like he kind of did like
aliens
some fucked up testing.
Pop up. Aliens always got to come up in this kind of thing.
But they kind of like did some fucked up testing if they're involved, dude. Like
the aliens, if they did it, well, maybe they weren't. I don't think they were tested. The aliens like tried to, and it scared the shit out of them, and they like that's why they ran out of the tent and stuff. But there actually is a little bit of interesting stuff here. So apparently that area. A lot of people, like the Mansi tribe, even the people in that village they were in, like anyone who knows that area, there's a lot of like UFO sightings. There's a lot of strange lights and stuff, which always tends to be the case out in like the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like some weird shit happens. That's where the aliens like to go. If that's they're always in like out in the middle of nowhere. They're never popping up in like New York City or anything like that. So there was a lot of like known UFO reportings, alien sightings, that kind of thing in that area. But not only that, apparently in like the few days leading up to the incident, there was a lot of like sightings of like flying red spheres.
Interesting.
A lot of people were saying, there was flying spheres in the area.
It also could be just like Russian military doing like some
exactly. It could be
planes.
that. It could be some sort of testing that the military is doing. But people say that they saw a lot of like floating red spheres, I think is what they call them. And those are just known to be in the area. So there's always the theory is that like aliens, tried to make contact with them or something, and it scared them so much that they like tore the tent open, ran out, and all that shit happened. Or the aliens killed them. There's all kinds of theories, but aliens being involved. And something that's interesting about that. Go ahead, if you want to talk about the lead investigator.
Yeah, the lead investigator said like he had no doubt in his mind that something with the lights had to deal with these people dying. Which is kind of strange that like the lead investigator would come to that conclusion. I kind of want to know how you came to that conclusion.
His name was Lev Ivanov. A quote from him, he said he's almost sure that those bright flying spheres had a direct connection to the deaths.
Yeah, like
interesting for an investigator to say that. You know what I mean?
Like a lead Soviet investigator, like one of like you don't know how the Soviet Union like. I bet a lot of people are like killed for saying crazy shit like that. And
maybe. You think that he said that to like throw off the scent of like their government? I don't know, but he did say that, and that's interesting. He investigated a lot of people in the area, and apparently, I bet you a lot of people like talk about that. I bet you a lot of people are like, we see a lot of UFOs around
apparently,
here.
like in the photos, there's like a maybe
right. There's a photo. Yeah, go ahead.
There's like photos, like there's like botches in the sky, but again, they could have been like some bad like
photos of some orbs floating in the sky. Some people think it could be like a light effect. Yeah. You know, or like the fact that something was out of focus and was just in the, but yeah, it's an interesting. I think some of the last few photos taken are of some flying like bright orbs in the sky.
That's strange.
Interesting, huh?
I mean, think about it. It'd be a perfect place for aliens to do some experiments on us because they're in the fucking middle of nowhere.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere. There's no one's ever going to really figure out what happened. So yeah, and like you said, that's kind of the MO of aliens. They like to stay out of the populated areas, So yeah, it's always aliens are always involved in the mystery, bros.
But you also came up with another theory about like some ringing effect that the hikers could have.
Oh yeah. So that's right. The very last theory, which this one's kind of
I actually maybe lean to this theory, maybe just a little.
This one is eerie. So apparently there's something called like an infrasound effect. And there's a theory where basically in certain areas, like in certain mountains, we've been able to observe this phenomenon, and it's called a Kármán vortex street. Okay, a Kármán vortex street. And it's basically like it produces something called infrasound. Okay, now what it is like it's about how the wind tunnels around the mountains and the wind blows around the mountains, and if it's like a particularly like stormy, windy night, the wind can be going so fast and gets cut by the mountains and like goes around them, and it moving so fast that it causes an infrasound effect to happen. Now, this has been known to it has a big effect on people if you're experiencing the infrasound, the winds, and it's been known to make people kind of freak out. Like it's been known to cause panic attacks. I think it can like, it basically just causes you to freak out, and people say that maybe that night was super windy. It was infrasound effect was being caused, and it basically was just like, it made them kind of go crazy. It made them like, which is interesting because it has been observed that happens. People we've studied the infrasound effect, and we know it happens in areas like that. So I mean, it's possible, man.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It kind of explains why they went just crazy and just
freaked out and started running and didn't bring their clothes or anything like that. Like they were getting this.
I mean, it's very odd, but I guess what else?
It's super rare.
Yeah, but like
I don't know if anyone's ever really like been proven that that's their cause of death before. Of like,
I don't know how you can prove that.
Yeah, you can't really prove it, But because the areas where that would happen are always so like, remote that it's just we can't really figure it out afterwards if it was that anyway. I do think it could happen though.
Yeah.
I don't think that one's as crazy. Like I'm gonna put that one ahead of Yeti. All right. And I'm definitely going to put that even ahead of Avalanche, I think. I think it was...
To me, maybe it wasn't like a big avalanche. To me, maybe something startled them outside. Like maybe like a little... I don't know. Something that like scared them to go out. I could see that.
Little rumble in the mountains. And they had... Yeah. But what was the cause of that? Was it a bomb being tested
maybe it was like
by the military? Was it...
Has anybody said earthquake yet?
I don't think earthquakes happen in that area. They're not on any tectonic plates or anything.
Maybe...
I guess it's possible, but I don't know if anyone's even thrown that theory out. So I think that like the village next to them would have experienced something if there was an earthquake and been like, yeah, there's an earthquake that night, you know? Because they did interview a lot of villagers and asked them if they noticed anything, and most of them just talked about the flying orbs and stuff. Someone would have said there was a little bit of an earthquake that night, you know?
Right.
So it's just interesting, man. Obviously, we don't know. You know, we don't know what happened. The thing that makes it so interesting is just like the way the bodies were found. You know, it's like what the fuck was going on? You know what I mean? Strange.
Yeah,
you almost think they had to have like been crazy or something or freaking out.
I think so. I like those two, like the couple, like I said, like where are they trying to go? If they're not trying to go back to the tent, where were they trying to go?
Final thoughts. What do you think it was? If you had to choose a theory, get behind it.
I feel like there was some kind of rumbling, or that like I think that like
from what you got to say from what,
like
natural.
Yeah, natural.
You think it was natural? Okay. Yeah. It's like some sort of
something scared them that they had to leave the tent.
Obviously, but like. So you think it was like an avalanche, basically?
No, maybe like something. But
avalanche would cause shaking and stuff. Avalanche.
But the problem is with the avalanche theory, I think they said like the angle that it was at.
They would notice. I think that there would be some evidence of an avalanche.
Yeah, the angle they said it was at, so it wasn't steep. So that's maybe something higher up, like scared them, like oh shit, something may be coming down, but didn't.
I see. Interesting. And then that's what made them freak out.
Or dude, honestly,
and
that
went. So do you think that the people that died of like the trauma, like fell down
they just like were running,
fell down a ridge or something?
But the thing is, like, it also like stops that theory. Like, weren't they trying to make a fire and like someone like trying to get firewood?
Two of them were.
Yeah, like why?
There were scratch marks on the tree that was next to them, and they think that was from them trying to climb the tree.
Yeah, see where they were or something.
Yeah. What would they like?
Why would you try and
climb a tree? Were they that lost? They didn't know where they were, and they were like, "We need to figure out where we're at."
Yeah, that could be it. Or they could be like, "Who's coming? Where are they at?"
Strange, man.
Didn't they say in the there's a movie about it, right? That it was like some zombies.
But the movie is no. The movie is ridiculous. The movie shows that there's. I mean, essentially, the movie shows that there's like some sort of like crazy Russian like. Secret like bunker that's like near that area, and like they were doing crazy like experiments with like other dimensions and like monsters and shit. So like it's just stupid. It's just a movie, but it's like it's entertaining if you like scary movies. I love scary movies, so I thought it was entertaining. It wasn't a great movie, but
no,
if you're interested in the thing, but it gets deep. Like they just keep going. Like once they find it's crazy. But anyway. That movie is not historical fact. I don't think they're trying to really think this is what happened. It's just trying to be a scary movie. So if I had to guess, dude, I think I'm gonna say it had something to do with Russian military, dude.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there was some sort of test going on. Now I don't know. I'm kind of split between whether I think they were testing a missile and it scared them or something like that, or if they like stumbled upon something that they weren't supposed to see. I could actually see
that as a good theory. Where it scared them. A missile scared them. They all ran out of the tent.
Yeah, some sort of bomb or missile being tested, and it scared them.
I don't buy this. I feel like there's not enough evidence to suggest they actually came to the tent place, like in person. That they were there in person. That they were there in person. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know, but maybe they came by and just scared them.
Well, there would be footprints. That's the thing. Or they
could cover up their footprints.
Just take a sled behind you and just cover that up.
Yeah, there's ways you can cover up your footprints. You know? And I don't think they like chased them down and killed them. I think that they just like went there to like scare the shit out of them. And then they figured that they're going to die out there. Outside, yeah. You know what I mean? Something like that. So, but if they were going through that much trouble, wouldn't they like go and make sure that they're all dead? Kill them all? I don't know. I just think that I think the Soviet.
There was a letter
stuff was involved.
There was like a smoking gun letter, but they can't verify it. That like the military knew about the hikers like way earlier on. Like how'd you know about these? But they can't verify if the letter's actually real or someone's making a hoax about this.
Yeah.
But that would be a smoking gun. Like, oh, the military knew these.
Yeah, definitely.
Had some tabs on them.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean. It's an interesting story, you know, but yeah, I think it was some sort of Soviet thing involved. And we'll never know, obviously, just like all mystery bros, we'll never know what really happened, but, you know, it's interesting.
It's very interesting.
But yeah, so I don't know if we know what we're going to be doing for our next episode. Not sure when it'll be out. Hopefully, we'll get it within the next couple weeks for sure. But we won't do another month of no podcasting, but no episodes. But you know, we'll get it out. But yeah, I don't know if we're gonna announce what it is. But it'll be a surprise one for you.
We might be just doing simulation theory, maybe.
Possibly simulation theory. Rob really wants to do simulation theory.
You don't want to do it anymore?
I don't know. It's not on the top of my list.
All right, we don't have to do it then.
We'll figure something out. But yeah, so thank you guys for listening. This was a good episode because I like Dyatlov Pass a lot. It's so mysterious and like kind of dark. You know, like all these people are dead. Even though way more people died in MH370, but it's like it's a lot more documented at least. Like we know where the plane, blah blah blah. But with the Dyatlov Pass, it's like it's so mysterious and like that kind of thing. You know, but yeah, so yeah, I hope you guys like this episode. You liked it before we had to get rid of it because our audio was fucked up on it. Hopefully the audio is better here. Yeah, so peace out, guys.
It was actually one of our search things, Dyatlov Pass.
Yeah, it was one of our best episodes when we had it up, but just the fucking audio kept cutting in and out. We had to fucking fix it. So here we are. Thank you guys for listening, and peace out.
Peace.
Mystery Brothers.
Mystery Brothers.
Mystery Brothers.
Mystery Brothers. Mystery Brothers.
Mystery Bros.